Hi there. How's it going? Welcome back to Breakfast All Day. So yes, other movies do exist in the world, and here is yet another one. It is called The White Crow. It is the latest from director Ralph Fiennes.
Yes. So it's funny, we were talking earlier about Justin Kelly, who likes true stories and has just did J.T. Leroy. So this is Fiennes' is this his second feature?
It's his third. He did Coriolanus.
Oh, I forgot about Coriolanus, which was awesome. Okay. Well, this is his second feature in a row about a real person.
Right.
He did The Invisible Woman, which was about Dickens's mistress, and now The White Crow, which is about famed Russian dancer Rudolf Nureyev, who defected to the West in the 1960s. And this is sort of, it's his life story, but it's mainly focusing on the Kirov Ballet's tour of Europe and his time in Paris that directly led to his defecting from the Soviet Union. We see his rough childhood, the fact that he kind of started late as a ballet dancer and had to do a lot of catching up, his relationship with his coach, played by Ralph Fiennes, and his coach's wife. I was glad the movie did not soft pedal his bisexuality. Bohemian Rhapsody style. We get some of that thrown in there. We see both. The dancing is pretty extraordinary. I mean, I'm not a trained ballet watcher, but I was impressed. But I'll tell you, after this and The Invisible Woman, I loved Coriolanus, but Ralph Fiennes' biopics I have to fight to stay awake sometimes.
His movies are handsome but restrained. And what I hate about this movie so much is its narrative structure. So David Hare wrote the script and jumps around in time all over the place needlessly all the time, to the great detriment of what is actually very tense. Like the final 20 or 30 minutes are the actual defection in the airport in Paris when he finally pulls the trigger on that. But until then, you have all this jumping around in time for no reason. It's needless. Sometimes it's confusing because sometimes the stuff in Leningrad, when he's like 17 years old, doesn't look all that different from Paris.
True.
And so you don't know, because there's also not that great of a time difference between those 2 years. It's like 17 versus 21, 22.
Oleg Ivenko plays Nureyev, and they don't really age him appreciably as a young adult. So you're right, it does kind of muddle together.
You'll see him in a rehearsal room, and it's like, oh, okay, so which dance rehearsal room is this? Is this in the Kirov Ballet's one, or is this the one in Paris? It's confusing.
And Candace Frederick reviewed this for TheWrap, and she talked about how this is another one of those things where it's like, he's a shitheel, but he's a genius, and we see him treat his Parisian girlfriend, played by Adele Exarchopoulos, really terribly in a restaurant and never apologize for it. And the movie doesn't really provide enough underpinning to be like, oh, well, it was a moment that tapped into his youth and blah, blah. No, he's just kind of a prick.
He is. And there's also not a lot to her.
No, not really.
She is like stoic and sad for pretty much the entirety of the film, to the extent that you wonder what that connection's about. I mean, she's this Paris socialite, and so she has connections that get him into lovely restaurants and parties, and he's drinking up the culture. He's so thrilled to be out of the Soviet Union and like going to museums and listening to music, and so she's his guide to that world. But they're not romantically involved with each other. No. They have no chemistry with each other at all on any level. Her character is so poorly developed, and then finally toward the end she gets a chance to step up and do something of significance. But that's another baffling element to this. Oleg Ivenko had never acted before. He's actually a Ukrainian ballet dancer. And
I figured let's get a dancer who we can teach to act instead of vice versa.
And he's pretty good. He has sort of that intensity in his eyes that Rudolf Nureyev had.
Yeah,
but then what's weird too about this is that you have Sergei Polunin here, who is like bad boy ballet superstar. He's the blonde who is the roommate in the film.
Okay, yeah.
So did you ever see that video for Take Me to Church? So he danced in a version of a video for Take Me to Church where it's just him like in this kind of open air barn, and it's thrilling. It's because he's just got.
I don't know what Take Me to Church is.
Take me to church, I worship by something. By Hosier.
Okay.
take me to church. How do you not know this song?
I don't know the young people's music, Christy.
Good Lord, this is like a 6-year-old song. I'll have to make it our opening song one of these days for the show, so you'll be forced to listen to it. Fine. But he's in the video for that song, and he's this incredible ballet dancer. He's been compared to Nureyev and to Baryshnikov, and,
interesting.
And he does not get the opportunity to do anything in this film at all. He was also in Kenneth Branagh's Murder on the Orient Express.
Oh.
And there was an entire documentary about him called Dancer. Anyway, but what's weird, though, is you have somebody who really can dance and don't get to give them a shot to dance. Yeah, I've found this to just be muddled. There are lots and lots of flashbacks to Nureyev's childhood in a very poor village in central Russia. And I do like the aesthetic approach that Ralph Fiennes has taken here as far as contrasting the childhood, which is so desaturated as to almost look black and white, versus like the almost technicolor kind of dreamy pinks and blues and greens of the dance performances, or of the performances. I mean, Paris itself is like creamy and the sunlight is magical and it's as romantic as you want Paris. It is. It's the way you want Paris to look. But then like the actual ballet performances are just vibrant, like these lush pastels, and it's really beautiful. So I like the very old-fashioned approach he takes to quite a bit of the storytelling here. I just wish that it would have really benefited. No, I wish it had benefited from like a more narrative, like a linear narrative structure that builds to the defection. Because by the time you get to the defection, there are enough disconnections emotionally, at least for me, that like it doesn't have entirely the oomph that it should.
No, I agree. It's not that the script shouldn't be trying to do something different, but it just does, what it does do doesn't really pay off and doesn't help the where we're going, what we're supposed to feel about it.
Right. The KGB minders are there trying to control him, and it's a great moment of tension. But I wish that more had occurred prior to that to like lay the groundwork for us to be even more invested. So I am saying 4.8.
I said 5.9. Like, yeah, I think there's a lot of technical proficiency here, and I liked Oleg Ivenko's presence on film and the dancing. But yeah, it's a bit of a disappointment.
Okay, so our number's a 5.4. It's at 66% on the tomato meter, and it is New York and LA this weekend. It will go wider elsewhere one of these days.
Grand jeté, grand jeté. Thank you for watching. Like this video. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at BeFastAllDay, and go visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay to check out all the extra goodies we have for members there, like TV recaps and trailer recaps and more.
So this is the end of our usual weekly breakfast all day. Please go visit us also at our Patreon, right, for Game of Thrones and Fosse Verdon and all that good stuff. I have an a la carte interview coming up next week with Lauren Sivan.
And check out, if you haven't already, Christy's Daniel Waters interview.
It was fun. Yeah, Dan Waters is always a sweetheart. So yeah, we're trying to mix it up and get different folks. So Lauren Sivan, who was a longtime TV reporter here and an old friend of ours, and she did the first Wine the Flick episode ever. So she's a cool chick. So listen to that.
Thanks, y'all.
Thanks, bye.